I hope you're ready.
This is Unbridled Thoughts.
We want to hear what you have to say.
Welcome back. We are back with Unbridled Thoughts podcast. I don't know why I keep wanting to ditch the thoughts, but I keep on doing it. My name is Sarah.
And I'm Ren, and go ahead and grab the reins because there are no bridles in Unbridled Thoughts, and just come along on a ride with us while we get to know our friends. And we're here with Lisa and Kristi, who are the owners of SenseAbilities, and you guys are located in Warner Robins.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Hello.
Hello. How did you both meet, and can you kind of tell us your friendship story and about your business?
Yes, we. I know. I was like, who's going to answer who? We actually met because Kristi was my son's middle school teacher, and then when we first started SenseAbilities, our other partner, Robin, was actually a special education teacher as well, and we all met through special education department in the school system, and we just had always talked about we needed to do this. There was nothing in this area for families, so we kind of talked about it whenever we would see each other, and then just kind of one day we were like, if we're going to do it, let's just do it, and took a leap of faith and started SenseAbilities.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Of course, that was,
2012?
13 years ago.
Yeah.
And we just grew and grew. We were both working still at the time, both teaching, and we ended up having to, I guess, retire from teaching and run SenseAbilities full time because it just grew. And here we are.
Yeah. We knew there was a need, but we had no idea of the numbers of families that had been looking for services for their children. Just not just Houston County area, but the surrounding areas, the surrounding counties.
We get the question all the time, well, are y'all therapists? And we're not therapists, but we're mothers of children with special needs, and we're special educators. So we did know the need and the importance of early intervention to help with kiddos. And our clinic is birth to 21. So, and we do occupational, physical, speech, feeding, and we do hippotherapy now.
Yay.
So now that you've headlined right into that hippotherapy, tell us, how did that, what started that? How did you guys get that started?
Well, I mean, it's kind of always, it's a component that we always wanted to add, but we just didn't know how to add it. And one of our OTs, Michaela, she had experience with hippotherapy, and so she really was the one that piloted the program.
Wow.
And I was just sitting here thinking, I don't even remember how it came about. I think it was because we were looking at different things to benefit the families and the children that are here. So we were looking at aquatic therapy, and then I think hippotherapy just kind of fell into our lap. My son was actually doing it in Macon at the time, and then they closed. So we were like, let's just see what we can do to figure it out. And then, of course,
another leap of faith.
Yeah. And things just fell into place. Yeah.
That's awesome. And you filled a need, too, because I'm sure the families in Macon were able to find your location as well, which is always great for everybody.
Yes.
So I wanted to ask you, too, did either of you ever have any fears being friends going into business might put a strain on your friendship in any way?
I never even thought about
that.
That's
awesome.
I think it's just we knew there was a need. We really wanted to do this and didn't even think twice, honestly, about it. We were just kind of like, you want to do it? You want to do it? Okay, we'll do it. And that was it.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Because we do not have a business degree, any business background. So we've, jumped over a lot of hurdles to get to where we are.
A lot of growing pains.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But it's just it's just a good thing for the community, the families, and we can relate to the parents or the guardians, and say, look, I get it, I understand. It's okay to feel that way. So
was there ever a time when you guys were in business were you guys ever kind of fighting things out and had to work things out?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't call it fighting.
It was like a McCartney-Lennon situation.
Well, because everybody looks at things differently.
Yeah.
So it's more of discussion and questioning to figure out things and to make sure you're doing things the right way.
Yeah.
So it's really
more like a creative process kind of a thing.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
You guys truly are an inspiration, though, because, they always say don't go into business with friends and family, you know what I mean? And then here you guys are just making it work and being successful.
I really have never thought about that.
I haven't either.
We never thought. I think we just knew the importance.
Yeah.
Of what we needed to do.
Yeah.
And there were times where we had questions or we had to seek legal advice as to how do we go about doing things.
Yeah.
And, but no.
Well, and I think we just trust each other and we respect each other, I guess, so to speak, and each other's opinions and thoughts and there's a lot of discussion. I mean, there's a lot of discussion, back and forth with things, but it's to make it better.
Yeah.
Not
as long
to,
as we communicate. I mean, open communication and, just talk through things.
Yeah, that's good.
And I'm glad you shared that because I think a lot of people want to go into business. That's what we're asking this question is, and we'll be asking other business owners this that are friends and family is to share with us that there wasn't reservation there. That if you have a dream and you see a need or things start to roll, don't hesitate, whether it be a friend or with family. Because like you said, if it's safe and open communication and you guys are communicating well, it worked out amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's really cool.
You have to trust the process.
Yes.
Just communicate,
Yeah.
and figure it out as you go. I mean, figure it out as you
We're still
move
learning
along.
things.
Yeah.
13 years later. I mean, we're still learning things and, maybe we should do this differently. And, I think we'll always learn.
Yeah.
It's how you make yourself better, really.
Yeah.
So,
Is there anything where you guys think that you guys will be expanding in other areas soon or with it? Or do you have any ideas for the future? Or?
I mean, in the past, we've talked about open in ABA, which is applied behavior analysis.
Okay.
That's a big need, really, for all children.
Yeah.
But I think that's like the other missing link
Yeah.
is ABA.
Yeah.
Nice.
And
So-
when Kristi says the missing page or the missing part of us, Kristi, for one, was driving to 3 different places to get different services that her son Brix needed when he was
Wow.
younger. And so we wanted there to be one place where you can go and you can get all of the support, all of the services in one place. And you were driving to Macon, Atlanta.
I had to take off work every Wednesday for a year.
Oh my goodness.
And this is coming off maternity leave, so I had no,
Yeah.
I had no PTO, paid time
Yeah.
off, accumulated, and luckily I had a principal that was very family oriented and was very supportive. But yeah, I mean it was tough.
Yeah.
Not to mention I had another child too,
Yeah.
so it was difficult. So kind of like a one-stop shop kind of, and and really we've also talked about having things for parents because some kiddos are here for an hour and a half to 2 hours, but doing like a little coffee shop because what we see is a lot of parents out there. They become friends. They're kind of like each other's
support system.
Yeah.
And as a mom of a child with special needs, we have really bad days and we have really good days. And it's nice to just be able to talk to somebody and them say, you know what, I feel the same way.
Yeah.
And not feel so isolated.
Yeah. And to know it's okay to feel that way and to have those days.
Yeah. I remember talking to somebody who shared with me that you do feel it is isolating because you have to, in certain cases, make plans to go out into the world. And just, you have to think everything through. Just, are we going to the movies, going to dinner as a family? Just,
And then you have to prepare.
yeah.
You have to set up the situation and explain it and describe what's going to happen and that type of thing a lot of times too.
Yeah.
Can you tell us more about it's the ABA?
Yes.
Can you tell us more of what that is?
Yeah, it's been around for a while, but insurance, I think, golly, when we first started, TRICARE, I believe, was the only one that would pay for it. It was just newer back then, but it's a very consistent type of therapy that it's not necessarily bad behavior. It's like Brix actually receives ABA in the school system, and he receives it privately now in the home. But he has difficulty with transitioning,
changing schedules,
and really being compliant, not necessarily in a negative way, but it's very structured. He gets 3.5 hours every afternoon with the same therapist. And a lot of times, like right now, we're working on picture schedules because he relates, instead of saying the word, showing him a picture is a lot easier, and he may comply more. So it's just teaching routine, teaching compliance through pictures, through, he has a communication device. He is verbal, but he can't say everything, and so he gets frustrated. Well, we say, Bricks, go to your talker, tell us what you want, and that cuts down on behaviors.
Okay.
So, is it great for every child? No. But do some children need it? Absolutely.
Well, without the availability, how would you know, you know?
Right, right.
That makes sense.
And a lot of things, unfortunately, are in the hands of insurance companies. Bricks has been receiving ABA in the school system for 4 years now, and I just got insurance to approve private about 8 months ago.
Wow.
And he's 14.
Yeah.
So, but it has been a game changer, and it gives me and Todd an extra set of hands. You know, when Bricks is home, it's all eyes on Bricks. So it helps families and caregivers be able to help other children with their homework or start dinner. You know, where you may not be able to do that if you don't have an extra set of hands.
Yeah.
But they're constantly working on goals, and it's educational too. They incorporate, you know, life skills and educational goals in with their their behavior plans. So
That's really cool.
And the goal is to fade them out. The
Yeah.
goal is to teach the skills, teach the routines, the schedule, to get used to that,
and start fading
and then
out.
start fading out the assistance.
Like, he was getting 100% ABA in the school system, and now he's down to 25%.
Wow, that's
Yes.
awesome.
That's a lot of growth.
I know.
That's
I'm very,
awesome.
very proud of him and his therapist.
And it's just to
is
help
so cool.
be able to function
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
in your everyday life.
Like, you want,
Yeah.
I mean, I want to, like y'all were saying, planning to go out in the community. I mean, right now, a lot of families think we only have 2 children instead of 3, because it's difficult to take Bricks out into the community. But we want to work towards that, and you know, take him to the football games with us, and where he doesn't run off, and you know, so it's just a long process, but you just have to be consistent, and we'll get there.
Yeah, definitely.
So.
Well, you've created this amazing space. It's beautiful. All the murals and the colors. I mean, we were sitting in the
Very
waiting.
kid-friendly.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
We were sitting in the waiting area waiting for y'all, and we were like, "This is so relaxing," and we all just started to sink into the into the
That's
couch.
what we wanted.
And being that it's a space for young children and young adults, what do you feel are some challenges that families of young adults come across when they run out of programs or age out of programs that you see happening? If that makes sense.
Now with mine, you know, Jacob is 28. Children, excuse me, children can go to and receive services in the school system until they're 22. And it was honestly a shock to see that there really are not many resources in the area, and not just in our area, just all over for adults once they leave the school system. There's not much at all. Now there are a couple of there's a few day programs around, but I think that is something that is still needed in the area. Finding job coaches to support when they're there, to make sure things are that things are going well with them on their job. That's just the biggest thing that I've seen. Now, we've been very lucky. We're involved with the Halo group of Middle Georgia, and they do a lot. They have a lot of supports within the community, where they do different jobs, but there are so many families that don't even know where to start. The resources are not given to them, or they're given them to them. The resources are given, but you have no idea how to access it, how to utilize it, where to go from there. So a lot of young adults, unfortunately, are just kind of hanging out at home and don't have that much to do.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's a shame because the school system in Houston County is so good. But once they turn 22, it's like, what,
it's kind of, there you go.
Yeah.
And the county does provide, like I said, the resources, but I think one big thing that's missing is the support and understanding the resources and how to go about utilizing them is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
And I haven't gotten there yet, but I'm going to
Yeah.
follow on Lisa's knowledge since she's gone through the process. But there's such a wide range. Like Jacob is very social, and he's, he behaves and he listens, and, doesn't really have any medical
Pretty independent,
issues.
yeah.
And then you have some that, they elope, which means they just kind of take off. And I'm thinking of my child in particular, he's not as self-sufficient, and hopefully he will be once he ages out, but there are adults that aren't, so there's more support staff that you may have to hire, and there's happy hour. And I actually got to tour happy hour, and it's amazing. I encourage everybody to go there. And they have, different jobs, some more, I guess, for the more severe adults with special needs, to some that can go out into the workplace. They're bussed out into the workplace daily and do not have to be monitored or supervised, 24/7. So I feel like we need more varieties kind of in between.
Yeah.
But right now, I wouldn't even really know where to go as far as which waiver do I get bricks on, or there almost needs to be like detailed training classes for caregivers, really starting in middle school. Because wait lists are long, from my understanding.
Now, eloping, is that an expression of autonomy?
So eloping is just running, taking off.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
taking
No, that's
off.
okay. I was like, oh.
Yeah. And there are some adults, that I can think of that do that. They just, no fear of danger.
Less
Yeah.
sense of, that's what I was going to say, less sense of common dangers.
Understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just, I have my mindset on this, or,
Let me
that
go.
looks really cool, and you're going to take
Very
off to it.
impulsive. Very impulsive, and just take off. They don't necessarily remember to, hey, let me stop and look both ways before I cross the street.
Okay, I understand now.
So, yeah.
Where Jacob, on the other hand, is going to stop us and make us look both ways.
He is a rule follower.
Even though
Yes.
I'm looking as I'm walking. Yeah.
Is there anything that you wish that people who do not have family members with special needs knew? Kind of like a PSA a little bit?
A lot.
I was going to say, where do you start with that?
Yeah, I mean, it's gotten a lot better. When I taught children with special needs, we would go out into the community. It's called a CBI, community-based instruction. We would go out, once, probably every other week, and they're going to make loud noises. They're going to, maybe flap their hands.
Yeah.
And I do feel like our community is not necessarily more accepting, but they don't stare as much as they did when I first started. Just
More
it's
acceptance.
okay.
Well, and I
Yeah.
think our society just in general is more accepting of differences
Getting
in
better.
general. But I think that's the biggest thing, is just to understand that sometimes things are going to be slower. They're going to take their time doing things. They have a routine of how they do things. Like when Jacob goes out into the community, if you're behind him in line and he's buying something, you better be prepared to wait for him to go through his wallet to pull out his bills, and he's only going to want to use certain bills because he likes his 1s and 5s, and that's going to take a little bit longer, and then he's going to put all of his change in his wallet before he moves on. So just, that's an example of, it might take a little bit longer, might do things a little differently, but it's okay.
Well, and just our society is just always in a hurry. Rush, 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 and I almost wish I could be like Jacob and Bricks. I mean, just, they don't hurry. Every morning,
Yeah.
Lisa has to fight with Jacob.
Oh,
to
yeah.
Get dressed.
Like one morning it was, as he's getting ready to go to Halo, we're a little bit late because he decides that and he has color-coded hangers because he wants those colors. I think it was Spider-Man is what started that. So they're red and blue. Well, and then he has some white ones in there. So that morning he just decided when he well, when he gets clothes out of the closet, his hangers go to a certain spot, and that's where he keeps them. Well, somehow they had gotten out of order. So that morning I had to wait for him to get his hangers in the order that he wanted them in that place that he keeps them before we could do anything. And if you dare tell him that we're in a hurry, we got to go, it's going to go much slower. So you just have to let him do.
You know, and I think adults and children with special needs can teach us, you know, just as much. And I think that's one thing that I wish the community would take more from them.
Yeah.
Like, let's don't be in a hurry all the time.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Enjoy little things.
Let's love everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, like, Brooks loves everybody. He
Yeah.
sees no fault in anybody. And I love that. And I strive to be more like that, you know.
It's really how we all should be.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We all should just love each other and
Yep.
just be open to each other no
Absolutely.
matter what's going on, you know.
I agree with that.
Take our time with life and enjoy it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We have some
Yeah.
friends in other states that have shared with us that some schools are integrating programs in with neurotypical students, and they've
Yeah.
been seeing really cool things between both students.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you that when Jacob was in kindergarten, one of his best friends, David, they both have Down syndrome. They had moved from England, and they were floored that David was not going to be in a regular classroom.
Wow.
In their environment, every child is in the same classroom, and they have the supports in that classroom to help them succeed and to do well. And it was a very big adjustment for them coming over here and realizing that that's, you know, we have self-contained classrooms, and, you know, you're kind of segregated a little bit. So that was a big change for them.
Yeah.
So that's going to be wonderful.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
That's going to be huge.
I feel
Yeah.
like we're a little backwards.
Yeah.
Or just still
Slower to-
kind of behind. I mean, we do have like the Partners Club in schools. I don't know if every school has it, but it's the Partners Club, and it's made up of kids in general ed, and they're partnered with the kids in special ed. And they just partner, they go on field trips together. Like, we just had Special Olympics last week, and all the partners came with our kiddos and helped them, you know, dribble the basketball or shoot the basketball. And I think that's super, super important. And again, I mean, I saw Brooks's partner. I mean, he just lit up his partner's little world, you know, so I think, again, we can learn just as much from our kids and adults with special needs.
Yeah.
So I wish people say typical, and I'm like, what's typical?
There is no typical.
Right, there really
The
isn't.
Definitely
typical
is no
students
typical,
know
yeah.
what, you know, what is typical?
No, I agree.
We're all
100%.
little, I've always said I think we all have some.
We're all a little
bit of
spicy.
every-
Yeah.
yeah, we do. Yes.
Yeah.
So what have been some of like the biggest challenges of the business?
Ooh. Well, starting out, I mean, that was a big challenge because
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
really didn't know what. I mean, we
Yeah.
had no idea.
Yeah.
And we started off in a smaller building, just friends who were therapists coming after school to see kids. And it was like, 6 months? And we were outgrowing where we were.
Wow.
Knocked a hole through the wall where we were so we could expand a little bit. And then within another 6 months, we were
We
looking
outgrew that.
for a bigger place and looking to hire a full-time therapist. So I think the biggest challenges really are as we evolve.
Yeah.
Just trying to figure that out and move forward
Yeah.
and provide the best services that we can that we've always done.
Right. Yeah. Growing the right way. And we've always been big on quality versus quantity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so because we want each family to feel like back in the day, we used to know all the families.
Yeah.
And that's been a challenge for us. As we've grown, it's hard to know all the
Yeah.
families.
Well, and two, since COVID, families aren't coming in as much as they used to. The lobby was loud, rambunctious. It was,
It was a party out there.
yeah, it was. It was a time for families to talk and get
Yeah.
to know each other. And, you know, since COVID, you know, people are staying in their cars more, even though the lobby's open and we, you know, let people know it is, the numbers are not in the building like they used to be. And that's really when we got to know everybody.
Yeah.
So I agree. That's one thing that we both really enjoyed was getting to know everybody
Yeah.
and knowing them on a personal level.
Did you get any like community pushback or pushback from any kind of like government entities or anything like that? No?
Absolutely none.
Yeah.
Again,
no,
the biggest
no
thing
hurdles
is
or challenges with trying to like figure out the business or with that. No.
I think the biggest challenge, well, there's several, but insurance.
Yeah, that's what I was about to
Learning
say.
The insurance rules, because every insurance is different, and even though it's Blue Cross, you've got Blue Cross Federal,
Different plans
you got
within Blue Cross
Yeah,
regular.
I mean, so it's different, and they're constantly changing. But our biller, she has done a wonderful job of keeping us in the loop and making cheat sheets. I mean, that's really the only way is you have to have a cheat sheet, and go from there.
Yeah,
But-
and then credentialing, because each therapist has to be credentialed with each insurance company, and that can take anywhere from a month to 3 to 4 months. We have had one person took almost 6 months, and it's just you have to go through that process. And of course, you have therapists that are waiting to provide services, but they can't because they have to be
Yeah.
credentialed. So
Like
that's
right now we're waiting
another
on
one.
that,
Yeah.
and we've got over 300 kids on a wait list.
Wow.
So it's, I think insurance has probably been my biggest
Yeah.
hurdle. I
Yeah.
mean,
300?
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Easy.
and I know our area is kind of like a little big town, but I can't even imagine what that would look like in a bigger city.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
And as a mama, I mean, it hurts our
Yeah,
heart
because
we
you want them in. You want
they
them
need to be seen.
Yeah.
And as a parent, we know, and as special educators, we know how important it is to get started and
Yeah.
not to have that lag time. So that's hard.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
What about some of your biggest business joys? Do you have any that you'd like to share?
Oh, just seeing the progress in the kids when they're
Yeah.
here, getting to know them and getting to know their personalities. I think that's my favorite.
Yeah.
Because they can be quite entertaining. Yeah.
No day's the same.
Yeah. No.
Well, and I think my most favorite thing we do in the community, but it's really a thank you to our families.
Yeah.
Is Breakfast with Santa.
Yeah.
Because you get to see, I mean, we get to see families here, but you get to see families enjoying each other and their kids. And if a kid needs help, we partner them with a
With
buddy
somebody.
and just see them in a different light.
Yeah.
They get to see their therapist in a different
Yeah.
light.
Yeah.
And that is, I know that y'all two have been, but it is
Yeah.
a must.
Oh, it's so fun.
It's a must
Yeah.
see.
I have not been. I'll have to go
You will
next
have to
year.
go.
Yes.
And a lot of our families can't go see Santa because of the behaviors
Yeah.
or the issues with transitions
yeah.
and schedules and just being in a different place and being around these different people, and to know that it's okay to go, and if they have a meltdown, we don't care. Everybody just kind of moves on, and
Yeah.
you continue to enjoy, let them have their moment, and then they come back and they enjoy it some more. And one thing that I do like that we do for families, and this is mostly for the parents, because we have a lot of military families, a lot of single parents. They aren't able to go out to eat or just go to the grocery by themselves or, do something for them. So we do a parents' night out once a month. Actually, we've just started back. So we've only done one now, but we like to do that. The parents sign up, and it's kind of like a lottery because it gets
really
pretty big,
really
yeah.
big. Yeah, we have to cap it at
Yeah.
20 to 25 kids.
Right, but
and their siblings can come.
Oh,
Yes.
cool.
So that way the
nice.
family can. I mean, we had a family or one
One
mom
mom
go pick
fell
them out.
She fell asleep.
One
and
grocery shopping.
we had to call her and she was like, "Oh my gosh, I fell asleep." Yeah.
But she needed it.
Yeah, rest.
Some go
Yeah.
out to
Rest.
eat. Some
Yeah.
and that's time that they can have for themselves and enjoy it.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
And know
really
that their
cool.
kid,
Is safe,
is
yeah.
safe and taken care of, and in an environment that they're,
Familiar
used
with.
to and familiar
Yeah.
with. Right.
Absolutely.
So have you seen like a lot of growth adding the hippotherapy program? Like, or how do you guys feel about that? Like, what has been the neatest thing to see with that program being added now?
The one thing that I've enjoyed seeing, children that you wouldn't expect to have a connection or to enjoy that.
Yeah.
Being around the horses. I just remember this one during camp. We did a summer camp and we did a horse camp. And this one little fellow that we were worried was going to be all over the place And we had like 2 or 3 people on just him to watch because we were scared he was going to run behind the horse or under the horse or, do something.
Yeah.
And when he got there, he was so calm, walked up to the horse and just stood in front of the horse, then sat down just looking up at him, and the horse came down to him. And it was like they had a connection. Yeah. And it was just the most calming experience that I've ever seen. And he's a little rambunctious one too. I mean, he's all over the place, and to see that just was really kind of took me aback. Yeah,
that's awesome.
But just the connections that the kids have and the adults have with them. Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
I wish we could see more kids. But again,
Right.
insurance.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We go back to what's been a hurdle, and it's insurance.
Yeah. They still consider it to be experimental, so you can't file insurance for hippotherapy. Now, there are places that I think do that, and they leave out the horse part, but I'm not going to go to jail for anybody. And to me, that's fraudulent. I mean, you're not being upfront about what you're doing.
Yeah.
So that's been a big obstacle for hippotherapy, is because families can't afford it
Right.
Yeah.
privately. So I've helped them with some funding supports in the community, but then that only they only give so much a year. So you kind of have to watch what you're utilizing in that pot of money. So that's been the biggest thing, is we could serve more, but the funding is the issue.
Yeah.
And payment is the issue.
No, I think staying compliant with anything that you have a license in gives you the power to help your own industry grow in the right direction, and to try to show the world that yes, there needs to be limits, but also, if we're doing everything the right way, the safe way, and we're treating people well and keeping people safe, the industry can kind of keep growing and serving instead of being retracted and pushed back.
Right.
I think that's with any industry.
Yeah.
It's very
And
important.
that's,
Absolutely.
the ABA started out that way. I mean, one insurance company paid for it, and now 15 years later, insurances are
Right.
So hopefully with hippotherapy, that'll
show.
I don't think it'll be as big as ABA, but
Right. Well, and there are other states that are able to file insurances, Florida, Tennessee, other places, but not good old Georgia. Not yet.
Hopefully Georgia hops on board.
What do you feel like, looking into the future, what are any fears, hopes, or dream programs for young adults with special needs that you would like to see, or would like to see change? More of, less of, for programs for young adults with special needs going out into the world?
For me, just thinking of Jacob, I would like to see more supports as a job coach, so that they can have a typical job. Jacob is the hardest worker you will ever meet in your life, but he has apraxia, so it's hard to understand what he's saying a lot of the time. And he does have a device on his phone that he uses when people don't understand him. But I think that fear of not understanding, what if something happened and he couldn't tell me, if he was not understanding something, that type of thing, I think that's still the mentality that we're seeing. I would like to see more openness, I guess, to different businesses and hiring, which I think it's come a long way, don't get me wrong, but I think just having more openness to different abilities on a job site, with some supports, would be more accepted, I guess.
More variety.
Yeah.
You've got at Publix, you've got adults bagging groceries, and but like Jacob, he's capable of doing more than that. And what I see personally for Bricks, if things don't change, which I'm hoping with ABA they will, but he may need more assistance than Jacob once he's an adult. He may need that supervision, that constant supervision, because he is very impulsive, and not necessarily in a bad way, but if he sees a dog, he's going to run and go see the dog. He's not going to stop and look, and if he sees another one, he may just keep running. So more coaching, more staff, And that's just for safety, you know.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, businesses being more accepting, welcoming them to come in like servers.
Yeah.
I think Jacob and them were servers at was Perfect Pair
Yeah.
at one time. I mean, I would love to have Jacob come serve me something,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, just more opportunities.
Yeah.
Definitely
Yeah.
more opportunities for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think you're the only one. I think there's a lot of people in the community who would love to see that and be a part of that a little bit more too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So definitely, maybe more small businesses becoming aware that maybe they can have that help. You know, somehow.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And if that opportunity is given, I think they'll see that
Yeah.
there's so much more there. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. So what are still some of the things that you feel like could possibly be holding you back? Like you guys were talking about like insurance obviously holding you back with the hippotherapy programs, and then you know, not everybody being able to afford, you know, the hippotherapy. Are there any other programs in your guys' SenseAbilities that other people can't afford or isn't covered by insurance, or is all that covered for the most part?
Pretty much everything else is covered.
Yeah.
I mean, I truly think that insurance is our only issue. And of course, that comes, the credentialing is part of the insurance. So I really think that's our biggest hurdle or our biggest obstacle. And that's really just for certain programs. That's not for everything.
Yeah.
Because most services, OTPT, speech, feeding are covered. And of course, some parents, if they have just private insurance, may have a copay or a deductible they have to meet, that type of thing.
Yeah.
And honestly, if you think about that, that can be pretty taxing for families too, because if you've got middle class, even higher, if you have a copay for 2 or 3 for every discipline that you have, and that's once a week times 3 or 4, and then you're seeing specialists and doctors and that type of thing, that adds up.
Yeah.
So that's something that we do too, is we help families with Katie Beckett deeming waiver, which is a type of Medicaid for families that make too much money to qualify for regular Medicaid. So we do help with that. So I think that's another, it goes back to insurance again. Yeah.
Well, and we have a lot of our kids, they'll receive speech and OT.
Yeah.
Well, the speech and OT want to collaborate and kind of treat together, but insurance won't allow that to happen.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You know, it's to benefit the kid, but insurance, you know, will not allow it. So
we,
you know, get creative, and of course the therapists are constantly, you know, bouncing ideas off of each other, and you just kind of figuring out ways to better their kiddo.
I love that.
But to be able to do it together, you know, it'll only help the child.
It's much more beneficial.
And it seems like it would be beneficial for the insurance company too, because then it's one big session instead of them having to reimburse for 2 sessions separately.
Yeah. Because you're looking at kids that might need positioning to do their best with feeding.
Right.
So you would need a feeding therapist and a
or sensory issues that you need to address, or behavioral, or you know, whatever it may be, to work with speech and language. So
So would you guys
I just said that, I didn't think about that.
Oh
I
yeah.
know. Sorry about that. Would you guys like to see like a nonprofit of some sort kind of partner up with you guys and give you some sponsorship? Can you take anything like that? Like, how would that work?
Oh, absolutely. I think that they could partner with us, but it would be more with the families.
More with the families.
From my understanding.
Yeah.
Kind of like, and I'll use Middle Flint as an example.
Yeah.
They, you know, provide support for families, and they give, you know, each child a certain allotment.
Okay.
And then we will bill Middle Flint for hippotherapy, and then they'll write SenseAbilities a check.
Yeah.
Nice.
So it would be us referring the families to that support system, the funding support system, and then going from there.
Yeah.
But it would definitely help. I mean, more families could get
More help.
needed services.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I just and I think of this other family with hippotherapy. Grandma didn't think that the child would do well with it, but really wanted to try it and see what he would do.
Yeah.
And she was in tears when she left that day because he did so well.
Wow.
Well, this is grandma who's raising 2 or 3 grandchildren and truly just did not have the funding to do it, but desperately wanted to do it. So we did help her with some of the financial situation, but it wasn't enough to get him through the year. So, you have to kind of stop services until you can start back the next year. And I think of her because
Yeah.
that's somebody that would have benefited greatly from the services,
Right.
but
Yeah.
there's no supports there financially for them.
That's a bummer.
So even like maybe like a scholarship program or something
Yeah.
for
Oh, absolutely.
like for a child or young adult to be able to do it for the year would be
Yeah.
like really beneficial. Okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's good to
Awesome.
know.
Yeah. That's cool. Well, I don't have any more questions.
Yeah,
Do you
that
have
was
any more
amazing.
questions? You guys did amazing.
I
We
mean,
could talk about it all day long.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, well, you love it. You're passionate about
Is there
it.
anything that you guys feel like we didn't ask you about or you would like to share that, wasn't really covered?
I can't think of anything. Y'all covered everything.
That's good.
Like, I was very nervous, but I'm like, hey, this is good. It's just talking about us.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything. Shared our
Yeah.
most exciting things and
Struggles. Yeah.
struggles, yeah. Nope.
Well, it's
We're
wonderful to
good.
hear you talk about this in your environment because we've known you all for a few years, and to be here in kind of your world and hear you guys talk about it. I'm learning things about you and seeing sides of you I've actually never seen before, and I've known you all for years. So it's really amazing to see how you light up about it and how knowledgeable you guys are about
Well,
it.
thank you. I was going to say, I hope that's good.
That's you're amazing.
It's our
Yeah.
happy place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I struggled when I decided not to go back teaching. Because I'm a people person.
Yeah.
I need to be around
Scared you'd
people.
miss it.
And but so people ask me all the time, do you wish you were still teaching? And I miss the kids. I miss my students. But I get that here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome.
Was there ever a consideration to grow into other locations? Do you guys think you would ever grow out of this space at some point?
We have had discussions,
Yeah.
but
Again, we
it's
wanna
very
grow the
overwhelming.
Right
We
way.
wanna grow the
Exactly.
right way. We want to make sure that we can provide
The best.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And one thing I can say about COVID, and this is just me personally, is one positive that I see that COVID brought was it kind of reset us.
Yeah.
We learned to do teletherapy, and not that teletherapy is ideal, but if a kid is sick, there's an option if that if that kiddo, if the therapist feels like it's necessary and they can make a difference. But the primary treatment is in-house.
Yeah.
But it helped us to reset. It helped us to, we had gotten too big too quick, I
Yeah.
feel like. And now we do want to continue growing. We're probably 3/4 of the size, maybe between a
Yeah.
half and 3/4 of the size that we were prior to COVID. But it got too big, and we couldn't keep up.
Yeah.
And so I think
We wanted that. We wanted to keep that warm, cozy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't want them to be a number.
Yeah.
They're families and their kids, and they need to be thought of that way.
Yeah.
So just growing back the right way. And so as far as branching out and into another location, maybe.
Yeah.
It's hard to say. I don't know.
Well, and there's been discussion about that because if you look at all of the more rural areas, going in those directions, but every time we've gotten to that point, we go back to we don't want to take away from here, and that would take away from here, and this is where we want to be, and this is this is kind of like our baby, and like I said, it's our warm fuzzy, and we don't want to lose that.
No.
So
And
that
it's-
always kind of goes on the back burner as far
It's
as
been difficult finding good pediatric therapists. That's a struggle when you talk about struggles, because reimbursement rates, again, from insurance companies, the reimbursement rates are lower in the pediatric setting than they are in the hospitals and the
Rehabs,
geriatric setting. So when you do find a pediatric therapist, I feel like they are truly there for the kids.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, they need to
reasons.
make an income, but they could make more money in a hospital.
Yeah.
So, and when we hire, when we interview,
Yeah.
we look at, okay, would this person work well with our personal kids? I mean, that's how
And that
we,
honestly is how we've
that's
always
we interview,
done it.
and that's how we hire.
Based off of personality more.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we've had a lot of interviews where we were like, I don't
Yeah.
see them working well with Jacob and Briggs, so
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So that's trying to find a really good pediatric therapist has been a struggle, and I feel like it'll be a struggle forever.
Yeah.
Until
Probably
that
so.
changes, probably. Yeah.
And kids are difficult. I mean,
Yeah.
you can make any plan you want to, but it is not going to go accordingly that day, and you have to be able to think on your toes. And you're one-on-one with them, where as with an adult, I mean, you can see 4 and 5 at one time and give me 10
And
of
they're not
those,
mobile,
5 of those,
or-
6
yeah.
of those, and monitor to make sure they're doing it the right way, where with the kids, you're one-on-one with them, and like I said, you're on your toes the whole time because that didn't work. They didn't like that thing you planned, and
Right.
you have to pull from your hat here and
Yeah.
go
Very
from there.
creative,
So
creative and flexible.
Yeah.
yeah,
Two top
yeah,
qualities.
Yeah.
Yes.
And passionate. You have to be
Absolutely.
passionate for what
Yeah.
you do and what you're doing with the kids
Yeah.
and who your kids are.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, you guys are both amazing. I don't
Yeah.
know you as long as Ren has known you, but you guys are just, every time I'm around you, you guys are such a joy to be around. So we appreciate so much all this information. And I think that's a wrap.
Do y'all have any socials or anything that people can follow you on or connect with you?
We have a Facebook page.
Okay.
And our website is SenseAbilities.net.
Okay.
And we have Instagram.
I think so.
Yeah.
I don't do Instagram, so I think we have it. I don't do all that.
But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Awesome. All right, perfect. That sounds good. Well, thank you both so
Awesome.
much.
Thank
This is
you.
amazing.
This was fun.
Bye.
Bye.